Ethiopia is a unique country in terms of its tourist attractions. There is a combination of all types of attractions. There is also believed that Ethiopia is one of the most important countries in terms of tourism potential as far as lots of things is concerned. Similarly, Ethiopia is one of the most important African countries for UNESCO for the fact that Ethiopia has registered initially one of the very important heritage, including rock-hewn church of Lalibela and the Semen Mountains, which is initially inscribed in 1987. This and other potential of Ethiopian tourism has been attracting tourists from different walks of lives. And the heritage, including the tangible and intangible resources, are some of the qualities that adds beauty to the potential of Ethiopian tourism. To shed more lights on this and other pertinent issue of concern, today I am joined with my special guest, Assistant Professor Abao Ayalew. Do stay tuned. Assistant Professor Abao Ayalew, thank you so much for joining us, and a very warm welcome to ETV special program. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me to your program. It's a pleasure.
Let's begin with one of the first questions I have in hand. What do heritage have to do with promoting Ethiopians' culture, image, and identity? Could you tell us in a nutshell?
Heritage has multifaceted values for a country or a community anywhere in the world, and ours also is not different in terms of value. But what makes ours different is that the diversity of heritage that we have, and then also when we go to the classification, some countries, if you take, they have a similar language, a similar culture, and a similar demography, whatever it is. So Ethiopia is linguistically, culturally, ethnographically very diverse, which makes it that we have a very large corpus of intangible heritage, because this is a country that has a diverse livelihood also. Livelihood determines your culture. So in this or other aspects, Ethiopia's intangible heritage is very diverse, and that's an asset by itself. And then when we take also the tangible heritage, being one of the earliest civilizations in the world, and especially in Africa, we have several historical heritages, and then also natural heritage. Even to take the natural, a country that hosts one of the largest mountains in Africa, and then we can say also in the world, and one of the lowest places in the planet, it hosts a diverse climate, which means we have a great deal of natural heritage, ranging from high altitude to lowland volcanoes. The Rift Valley itself, its presence in our country, has benefited us by providing us several freshwater lakes. So our country is endowed with so many tangible as well as intangible heritage. And their value is that principally these are the marks of our identity, be it natural, be it cultural, be it tangible or intangible. So in any society or community, in any country, heritage symbolizes the belief system of the people, the history of the people, their interaction, and as such, our heritage are symbols of our identities. More than that, in this particular time, the value of heritage is that people must change heritage into money. So many countries has invested a lot in heritage, so that heritage should generate income. It should not be just a symbol of identity only. So being your identity, it should be also a factor that will contribute to the national income. So in that aspect, we have been in the heritage business and tourism business not far than at least 50, 70 years. But have we benefited from our heritage and tourist attractions and destinations? We haven't. So any country in the world now is making heritage an asset in terms of generating income. And now I think we are in a new chapter where the value of heritage should be something economic for the community and then also for the country.
What is the tourist flow like as we speak? Can you tell us a little bit?
Honestly speaking, there are efforts that were made to promote our heritage as well as tourist destinations and attractions since the late 1960s, when the Ethiopian Tourism Organization was established by then, the NTO. So a systematized promotion by the capacity of the country, because promotion requires a lot of money, has been done. And then the registration of some of our historical sites and natural sites to UNESCO also has helped by default in terms of promoting. But when we consider budget-wise, due attention is not given for promotion of our cultural heritage, natural heritage, as well as even intangible heritage. That's principally because tourism was not given due attention by government authorities. A country like Ethiopia, which has a tourist asset, must systematically utilize it. If you have to utilize it, you need investment in the field. If you need investment, you have to promote. So the promotional aspect was not done properly, and then it was not given the attention that it deserved. So we are long overdue in terms of promotion. Countries like Rwanda and then Uganda, who have very limited tourist resources compared to us, are investing a lot, and they have made a difference. They have made a change. Ethiopia, beginning from the past 3-4 years, particularly with the change of government, what was started was that we should utilize our tourist resources properly. That's why the tourism ministry was organized at a ministerial level, and institutions like the Ethiopian Heritage Authority, which is this institution which I'm heading, and then also the Ethiopian Wildlife Conservation Authority, which is in charge of the national parks of the country and other natural destinations, was placed under tourism so that they should be properly promoted. And then also this demonstrates the government's attention in giving priority to tourism. Since I think October, there are some changes, particularly after the agreement between the TPLF and the Ethiopian federal government at Pretoria. The number of tourists has increased, not only tourists, the number of researchers engaged in heritage, particularly paleontology and archaeology, has increased. As you mentioned, because of the COVID pandemic, the tourist business and industry has been paralyzed. And following that, the conflict in northern Ethiopia also became a factor which prohibited many tourists from coming to Ethiopia. But these things have changed. Now we are in the aftermath of a peace agreement between the competing forces in northern Ethiopia. So that also has added. So we have seen improvements. We always keep a record of visitors, both domestic and foreign, who visited the National Museum. So the data of the last 2 months, and then particularly the past 3 weeks, shows improvements. And then we should also take into mind that this is a high tourist season. This is a high peak, and I hope it will continue to April and May, and we may see improvements, particularly the resolution of the conflict by peaceful means is a lot for people who travel to Ethiopia. And then we have some indications also that Ethiopia is becoming one of the best destinations. About 4 or 5 days ago, the National Geographic Britannica has listed Ethiopia as one of the top 5 best destinations for tourists in the world. That also means a lot. So we expect that many countries that has put Ethiopia, particularly places like Lalibela and Gondar, which are important destinations, as yellow area, will make them very soon green, so that tourists will come without any kind of hesitation for their security.
It was said that due to the conflict in the northern part of Ethiopia, some historical heritages and artifacts have been obliterated and looted. And what is the current status like, and what are some of the works that you have done in order to restore these particular heritages to their original place?
It's always expected that when there is conflict, heritages are one of the things that will be damaged and then also looted. So many groups, individuals, or combatants may focus on looting movable heritage. And then conflict usually brings damage to historical and cultural heritage that are kept for generations. We are planning a mission to many parts of Tigray. Recently, we will do it probably in a month's time, explore, and then finally take the necessary action, be it restoration, preservation, or protection. In some sites, we are very lucky and fortunate. Places like Aksum, which are UNESCO sites. So no damage has been done on the heritage sites and the heritage objects, including the obelisks. And it's good that both parties in this case avoided armed conflict within the town, which helped the preservation of the heritage. And then even 4 containers that were brought to Aksum for restoration work, they are not touched. So we thank the people of Aksum and then also whoever is there as a combatant force for respecting that. In northern Wollo, southern Wollo, and then also southern Gondar, northwestern Gondar, a lot of movable heritage are looted. One example is the Museum of Dasse, where several historical objects which are prominent heritage that have a paramount importance for the community as well as for the country were looted. And we are working on that with the Amhara region police and then with the federal police as well as the Ethiopian Gumruk Commission. We are in a process of locating them and then finding them and then getting back them to the place where they belong.
UNESCO, in collaboration with the Ethiopian Ministry of Tourism, you yourself have been to the northern part of Ethiopia and have visited the rock-hewn church of Lalibela. And what was the purpose of the visit and what did you communicate about?
Since early 2022, in the aftermath of the withdrawal of TPLF forces from Lalibela and then the takeover of the area by the Ethiopian Federal Forces, the Ministry of Tourism, and then the Ethiopian Heritage Authority, and then as a third partner and initiator also, the UNESCO office in Addis Ababa was organizing various missions where diplomatic communities and then important ambassadors of different countries has visited Lalibela. As you know, Lalibela, the town and its vicinity, its economy is entirely based on tourism. The agricultural potential of the area is very low, and there is no remittance that comes from Ethiopians living from abroad. So it's important that one has to encourage the tourist flow to the area. So an important step in terms of that should be showing to members of the core diplomatic community, important ambassadors, and then people from UNESCO to visit the site and then to give their testimonies. So last year they have given their testimonies that the area is safe and everybody is welcome to visit. And after that also there are 2 missions. And in the last Ethiopian Ganna, Christmas, there was a mission which included several diplomats from different countries that was organized by the Ministry of Tourism. And then in the next Ethiopian Epiphany, Timket, again there will be a mission to Lalibela which includes several diplomats and ambassadors. And the whole purpose of this is that when people of importance or significance, like ambassadors and then UNESCO representatives, give a testimony directly from the site, people will be encouraged to visit Lalibela. So that's its ultimate purpose. And that has made a difference. Last year, their testimony has brought several visitors, and we expect the same this year. So we hope that many countries that have just placed sites like Lalibela as a yellow area, which means it's not a safe area to travel or to visit, they will change it to green, which means it is a safe and secure area for any kind of visitor or traveler. An ambassador represents his nation and his people. So an ambassador's testimony is a lot, actually. Their presence also. So that's why you see, if the ambassador of Australia says something about Lalibela, and then if he says, visit Lalibela, that means for many Australians, this is like the government, the Australian government talking to them. So it has a great deal of relevance. And it also is something that proves that what Ethiopia has been saying for the last, about 2 years or 2 years and a half, that Ethiopia is a place you can safely travel, you can safely visit, is not a lie, rather it's a fact and truth.
Speaking of heritage preservation, how is the partnership like between UNESCO and Ethiopia, and what are the current development?
We are signatories of various UNESCO conventions, the 1970 Convention, the 1972 Convention, the 2003 Convention. There are several conventions. So which means we are state party to UNESCO. So we have also World Heritage Sites. And then we have enlisted about 4 intangible cultural heritage. So UNESCO, more than a partner, we also are part of the UNESCO. Ethiopia is a committee member of the Intangible Heritage Committee. So as such, UNESCO supports us in many ways. But during hard times, particularly during the time of the conflict, the UNESCO has made a statement particularly regarding Lalibela and then also Aksum, where these are World Heritage Sites, and then the 1972 Convention should be kept intact, and then the 1954 convention should be strictly observed by both parties, the conflicting parties. On the side of the Ethiopian government, there is no problem because it has to observe it strictly. And then TPLF also has somehow refrained from that because to make damage or to transgress religious rules or heritage conventions in such an important site will have a consequence, and they know that consequence. And that's why you see UNESCO's statement has helped us. On our side, we preferred to keep silence because we have reports that are just filtering to us time and again that no damage has been done. And in the absence of no damage, to make any statement regarding the heritage, we thought that will be something provocative. So that's why we encouraged and initiated the statement to come from the side of UNESCO instead of us. Since 2019, there was a bilateral effort from the French and the Ethiopian side to make several conservation and valorization works at Lalibela. So that was initiated by the agreement of the two leaders, President Macron and His Excellency Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. So following that, several feasibility studies were done. And then a very comprehensive study and research has been done because to do a conservation and then valorization work on a site which has a paramount significance not only to Ethiopia but to the world as Lalibela should be very meticulous, and then a great deal of research must be done. So about 12 researches were done. One is the hydrological work, and then the second, the geotechnical work, where a test will be done on the rock bed for the construction of the new shelter. Immediate intervention work has started. That immediate intervention work on selected 22 sites, some in the Margorios area and some in the Beta Gabriel area, and then other development works are being done. But the war, the conflict and the occupation of Lalibela by the TPLF forces has delayed most of the tasks that should have been done by the original schedule. But we are not still too late. What is important is that nothing happened to this very world class church. Nothing has happened, and to that we are fortunate.
We know that during the rehabilitation work, the diaspora community also had the opportunity to be part of that development, and how important it is and how is significant the visit of the Lalibela in this regard.
The diaspora has made a lot of efforts. Some of the diaspora actually, they become pioneers in terms of coming to Lalibela, particularly when the Ministry of Tourism announced that the Ethiopian motto of we celebrate Christmas in Lalibela and Epiphany in Gondar. No one should stay at home overseas, rather come to Ethiopia. So that initiation has brought a large number of diaspora to Lalibela and then to Gondar. So it was a successful campaign, and it has somehow led to the recovery of the tourist flow, both domestic and then also foreign.
Now we are going to celebrate the upcoming Ethiopian Timket or Epiphany, which is colorfully celebrated in different parts of Ethiopia, particularly in places like Gondar and Lalibela. So in this regard, how important is the pistil in celebrating the Epiphany, and what has got to do with the tourist flow as well?
Timket, as you know, it is celebrated in many parts of Ethiopia. And then also it is it is enlisted as an intangible cultural heritage of the representative list of humanity. So Gondar is historically one of the places where Timket is celebrated in a very unique way. So the celebration at Gondar, obviously, it will attract a large number of visitors, and then from foreign countries, and then the diaspora also. So in the previous years, the absence of peace, and then in some cases a stalemate, has somehow made many people, both Ethiopian and non-Ethiopian, hesitant. But this time there is this hesitation is not anymore there because of the peace agreement. I think Gondar has a great deal of diaspora from North America, from Israel, Sudan, and then also Europe. A large number of people will come from there. Many people from different kind of parts of the country, again, they will go there. And then Timket is one important reason for people to come from abroad to ask their families and many things. So the peace settlement has created a very good condition for people, to come without any kind of hesitation. This is an outdoor celebration which has several elements. So one of the elements is, which is principal, is the religious one. So the tabots are carried by priests, and then they will go to the place where the Timket will be celebrated. So that's a blessing. And that itself is something that attracts people, particularly foreign visitors. And then the second, there are socio-cultural celebrations in the middle of this religious celebration. So it's participatory. You can be part of the celebration. So when you walk from a church to the place where the Epiphany is celebrated, that is, you are participating in a sensational movement. So that's why it's participatory, and then the community is the owner of that. So this is not organized by any government body or something. That communities do that. So you feel as part of a community. So in such a way, you see, Timket and other intangible cultural heritage, they are more impressive. So you interact with people, with community. You don't go and just face the object. So participation is the most important thing, and that's where you feel the real identity of the people, the real kindness of the people. And there is nothing more than being part of a community, being part of a certain society. So you feel that when you participate through this, whether in Gondar, in Addis Ababa, in Lalibela, or in Ambo, or Jimma, or whatever. For the Epiphany celebration, Addis Ababa, now it's in a very peaceful condition. And then the youth, always, it's in a very good vibe for celebrating their participation. And then everybody is expecting this very populous and pompous celebration eagerly. So many tourists will participate, I think. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church also has made its preparation, the city administration. In our case, what we do is that we have a new exhibition, archaeology exhibition. We are promoting that. And then apart from that, what we do is we document it every year because it is inscribed as an intangible cultural heritage. So we always report. And then this year, 2023, the UNESCO Group 5A, Africa Group, Sub-Saharan Africa Group, will be presenting a periodic report of all intangible heritage. Maskal, Chambalala, Gada, Timket. So as such, we will be documenting in several places. And then finally, by the end of 2023, we will send a report to UNESCO that nothing from the components and elements of inscription has changed. When we come to the Ethiopian media in general, the attention and time it has given to the promotion of tourism and then also intangible cultural heritage like Timket and others is very little. But there are some who give the deserving attention. And one of that is ABC, and there are some others. But apart from that, when we compare the tourism potential of Ethiopia and the promotion, little attention is given. You can compare it with the time, particularly prime time, that was given to sports and others. So this is a sector where you can generate a lot of money by promoting. So I think they have to work more on that. And then when I say they have to work, not only giving more time, but also reporting it properly in a way that maintains the authenticity of culture, the authenticity of the heritage, its history, whatever. The most important thing that we care as a heritage authority is that particularly intangible cultural heritage, they should be authentic as much as possible, which means you don't have to add something new which is taken from any other country, and the cultural element and the traditional element must be there. So on such things, I think it's not only the duty of the media and the role of the media, our institution also has to establish close relationship with the media and inform them when we say Timket, why is it registered? For what reason? What element is going to be protected, conserved? Because when you enlist an intangible cultural heritage, one important criteria is that heritage must be transferred from generations to generations. So that continuity is important. And to ensure that continuity, it's better and not better, rather it's mandatory for our institution to work with the media, because the media has to be well informed and well equipped with the knowledge and meaning of an intangible heritage. The community is more hospitable for tourists than tourist institutions sometimes. That's why this issue of hospitality becomes essential and important, and it needs attention. Apart from that, for the Ethiopian Epiphany Timket, the most important is the community. The community is owner of intangible cultural heritage. Their participation is mandatory for their continuation. In what way? In a way that maintains tradition. So that's why when we think of conserving, protecting intangible cultural heritage, the protection mechanism and method is always through community, not through government institutions. So that's why my message to communities participating in Epiphany, Ethiopian Timket, have a responsibility in that their presence makes it sensational and pompous, and then their costumes, dresses, everything that shows our history and tradition is essential in their continuation and in handing over this marvelous celebration to the next generation.
Are there any points that you'd like to convey in general? It could be a wish to a family or for Ethiopians as well.
I wish happy Ethiopian Timket Epiphany to all Ethiopians in and outside Ethiopia.
Assistant Professor Awayaleo, thank you so much for your priceless time sacrificing from your busy schedule. I really appreciate it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this brings up the end of the discussion that I had with Assistant Professor Awayaleo. The time that we had was so interesting and fruitful, raising lots of pertinent issues of concern, including the Epiphany celebration. I hope you guys have enjoyed the conversation that we had today, and until I see you next time with ETV special edition, thank you so much for watching us. Goodbye from me now.